I am Claire, 32, a portfolio manager who lives one block off Central Park. I keep a ledger on my kitchen counter and a fireproof folder under the bed. People say money is cold. I say money is truthful. It tells you who is taking, who is keeping, and who is pretending to love you. The party was already too bright. Balloons, a cake with sparklers, a room full of people who post everything. I set a small velvet ring box on the table. The receipt sat beneath it, corners sharp $12,000 written in tidy type. In my other hand, the carrier bag from the insurer, a slim packet with my signature where I had planned to add his name as beneficiary. I should have felt young. Instead, I felt old and stubborn like the oak coat rack by the door that had seen too many winters. Ryan lifted his flute. He smiled to the phones. I'm moving in with someone else, he said. We are having a baby together. The room froze. Then the lights seemed to get louder. He glanced at the ring box and smirked. That ring will look better on an auction site. I tightened my grip on the insurance packet. Paper bites harder than you think. There was a silver key fob in my pocket. I pressed it like a worry stone. People whispered. Someone laughed. Not a funny laugh, a nervous one. My name appeared and vanished on screens as thumbs typed. The cake smoked in the corner forgotten. Where are you watching from? I said, into the nearest phone lens. Calm voice, clear face. Hit subscribe. We need to talk about betrayal and money. I did not cry. I did not plead. I have lived too long with spreadsheets to bargain with noise. I closed the ring box. Its hinge made a sound like a door you should have locked earlier. I slid the insurance packet back into the bag. I left the party holding only what I brought, plus a silence that felt like snow. Shock fades, the body stills. You notice odd things, the weight of a wallet, the exact chill of the night air, the way your shoes sound on clean stairs. When I reached the sidewalk, a courier bike hissed past, and the rider cursed at nothing. It made me smile. Sometimes the world is honest without meaning to be. At home, I set the ring box on the marble island. I placed the engagement contract beside it, the one the jeweler had given me with the return window carefully boxed in red. 60 days. I was on day 46. I put my palm on the paper, then on the stone countertop feeling, which was colder. The paper won. I opened the safe. Inside lay my deed, the condo bylaws, a folder of account statements with neat tabs. Savings just over $200,000. A cushion I had grown the way you grow a garden, one ordinary day at a time. There was also the lease for his car, the one I co-signed because love makes you think risk is romance. I touched the edges of each page. Edges matter. Then I made coffee. Black 2 ice cubes the way I drink it, when I need the burn and the chill to arrive together. I took my laptop to the kitchen table. The router hummed. The city hummed back. I signed into the jeweler's portal, filled out the return form, and reserved a slot for the morning. I printed the label. The printer coughed it out like an animal spitting a bone. Next, the streaming accounts. I opened each dashboard, found the button that says sign out of all devices. A clean act, like washing a dish you never dirtied. Then the bank app. I removed an authorized user. The card list refreshed and his name vanished, a small magic trick no one clapped for. The condo system came next. I changed the gym code, the package room code, the elevator service code. I watched the digits roll and stop like a safe clicking shut in a quiet movie. The car lease required a phone call. I read the contract number to a polite voice and said I was withdrawing as guarantor. She cleared her throat, apologized to a policy I could not see, and explained the steps. It was not fast. It was precise. I took notes on a yellow legal pad. The ink glowed like a road at night. In the middle of this housekeeping, an email slid into my inbox. Subject line, Dude, she is loaded. I knew that address. Ryan once used it to send me playlists. Now it forwarded a message he wrote to someone else, mistakenly including me. A brag loose and crowded with emojis I refused to picture. The sentence that mattered was simple. I'll cash out of Claire's estate by the end of the year. He called my savings an estate. He called me a door to walk through. My hands went cold. I forwarded the email to myself and to a folder named Quiet Fire. I did not reply. If there is one thing age teaches you early, it is that silence is fuel when outrage only burns air. The night stretched. I put the ring box back in its bag, looped the receipt around the ribbon, and placed both inside a tote with a wide strap. I took the elevator down to the lobby and told the doorman I would be out early for a return. He nodded, eyes soft, like people are when they know something but will not ask. The concierge desk smelled faintly of lemons. There was a glass bowl of peppermints that never seems to empty. I took one and did not unwrap it. Sugar can wait. Back upstairs, I walked from room to room with a notepad. It is a habit from childhood, an inventory you do when storms are forecast. I wrote down what was mine, the piano with one honest scratch, the framed print my aunt left me a city skyline at dusk, the coffee table I bought secondhand and refinished its grain like a fingerprint. Ownership is not only legal, it is tactile. It is the memory of lifting something from a curb and making it a table your friends lean on while they tell you who they really are. I sat by the window and listened to a neighbor laugh in the stairwell. Somewhere, a dog shook its collar. I imagine Ryan telling his new someone about me, softening his cruelty into a joke, filing off the corners so it would pass in polite company. That is how betrayal often travels, disguised as charm, wearing a borrowed coat. Before sleep, I set 2 alarms, one for the jeweler, one for a call with the insurer to remove a name I never added. I placed the key fob on the nightstand. I turned my phone face down. The city blinked through the curtains. Money is truthful. It had been telling me for months who he was. I had only just learned to hear it. I will explain the rest in a moment. For now, remember this. When someone humiliates you in public, do not rush to repair the image. Repair the locks, the codes, the signatures. The heart can catch up later. Tell me where you are watching from, and subscribe. Families and money make a noisy pair, and this story has echoes you will recognize. I woke before sunrise, the ring box already packed in a return envelope, the receipt folded flat, a thin blade of paper. My mind was quiet, not calm, just blank, like a spreadsheet waiting for entries. The party scene replayed in Flash's laugh, the way people shifted their phones toward me, hungry for scandal. That silence clung to me like static. The jeweler opened at 10. I was there by 9:50, waiting in the drizzle, with a tote bag pressed to my side. Inside, the clerk scanned the barcode, lifted the ring with a pair of tweezers, and nodded. 12,000 credited back to the card. Just like that, one symbol of humiliation turned into a balance adjustment. I signed the form with a pen that barely worked. I pressed harder until the ink showed. Next came the car. He loved that car, polished it on Sundays, bragged about its leather seats. The contract carried my name as co-signer. At the leasing office, a man in a navy tie flipped through the file. If you're withdrawing, he'll need another guarantor or surrender the vehicle. I smiled thin as the paper in his hands. That's not my concern anymore. I signed again, my hands steady. Back home, I opened my laptop and logged into the bank portal. His name sat there, an authorized user, just a line of text. I clicked Remove. The page refreshed and the line vanished. One less drain. Then, the streaming services, movies, music, fitness apps. Each one required a password reset. Each one gave me the same confirmation: you are in control. The condo system came last. I typed in new codes for the package room, the gym, the rooftop access. I printed them on a single sheet, folded it twice, and slipped it into my desk folder labeled Access. If he tried to swipe his old fob, the elevator would freeze on the ground floor. I thought that was the end of it, but betrayal always leaves residue. That evening, an email arrived. Subject: cash out plan. It was a forward from his account, carelessly copied to me. He had written to a friend, she's sitting on 200 grand in savings. By December, I'll cash out. Maybe more if I get on her life insurance. My body went cold. The arrogance of typing it, the stupidity of hitting send. I dragged the email into a folder I called Quiet Fire. I printed a copy and slipped it behind the deed to my condo, a paper shield in case he tried to play clever later. Days blurred. At the office, numbers scrolled across my screen, but behind them was always his voice at the party, mocking. In the elevator, I caught neighbors whispering sympathy in their eyes, curiosity on their tongues. I walked past them with my shoulders squared. Then one night close to midnight, pounding at my door, through the security camera, I saw him, shirt-wrinkled mascara smudges on the collar suitcase at his feet. His smile was gone, replaced by desperation. He pressed the buzzer again and again until the panel beeped red. "Claire, let me in," he shouted. "Half of your savings is mine. Do you hear me? Half." His voice cracked, echoing down the hallway. Doors opened. Neighbors peeked out. Some recorded on their phones. I just pressed the record button on my own system, capturing every word. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. His rage filled the corridor, a public confession. After 20 minutes, security came. He stumbled away, muttering threats. I saved the video to 2 drives, one locked in my desk, one uploaded to the cloud. That night I slept with the lights off and the city outside blinking like a witness. I told myself humiliation can be recycled, betrayal can be itemized, and revenge is patient. But what he didn't know was that the world would soon see his tantrum. I'll explain in a moment. Tell me where you are watching from, and subscribe. Money and families never end quietly. The city has a way of keeping secrets. Sirens cover the sound of someone's heart breaking. Traffic hums over whispers in hallways. But the building where I live has no such mercy. Its walls are thin, its corridors echo like a church. When he came back, no one could ignore it. It was a Wednesday, the kind of night when even the bars seemed tired. I had just finished a glass of Cabernet, a ledger open on my table with neat columns of numbers. My savings, my mortgage, my projected investments order written in ink. Then the buzzer screamed. Through the camera lens there, he was Ryan. His hair unwashed, his shirt stained with mascara smears. Behind him, a cheap rolling suitcase leaned at an angle, one wheel broken. He hit the door again and again, with the flat of his hand. Claire, his voice cracked. She threw me out. She doesn't want me. Not with the baby, not with the bills. But you owe me. Half of what you have is mine. Neighbors opened their doors. Some leaned on door frames, some raised their phones. One whispered, "Is that her fiancé?" I pressed record on my panel. Every word etched itself into the drive. "Do you hear me?" he shouted, pounding the glass with his fist. $200,000? You think you can just keep it all? You're nothing without me. Nothing. His eyes were wild. His breath fogged the camera lens. And then came the moment that made the hallway gasp. He dropped to his knees, palms flat on the floor, and began to sob. Not quiet sobs, theatrical, choking, the kind you stage when you want an audience. I stayed silent. Silence is its own reply. After 15 minutes, building security arrived. They asked him to leave. He cursed at them, cursed at me, cursed at the woman who had already thrown him out. Finally, they guided him to the elevator. The doors closed. His voice faded. But the story didn't end in that corridor. Not with half the tenants recording. Not with his words hanging in the air like smoke. The next morning, a neighbor slipped me a message under the door. A printed screenshot from social media. The caption, "Gold digger exposed in Midtown, watch this meltdown." The video had already gathered thousands of views. There he was, screaming in grainy footage, "Half of your savings is mine." His name tagged his gym, listed his new relationship, mentioned in cruel comments. By lunchtime, his face was on gossip pages. I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and watched the city go about its business. Trucks honked children, tugged at backpacks, office workers stared at their screens. And inside my folder marked Quiet Fire, I placed a fresh printout viral clip, Ryan Meltdown. You see, betrayal doesn't just break trust. It brands you. And he had branded himself in front of an audience larger than he could ever imagine. But what none of them knew was that I had more than video. I had the email, the promise to cash out of Claire's estate. That part I kept close. That part would wait for the right stage. The city forgets quickly, but the internet does not, and neither do I. I'll tell you what came next and why his own words became the rope he tied. Stay with me. Tell me where you're watching from and subscribe. Families and money always leave a trail. By the next morning, the building lobby buzzed like a newsroom. Neighbors gathered in clusters whispering. A few smiled at me with that mix of pity and curiosity reserved for people who have suddenly become stories. On my phone, notifications stacked one over another. The clip had spread from a neighbor's Instagram to gossip pages, then to forums I didn't even know existed. The headline was always the same: Fiance screams for half of her savings after being thrown out. His face filled every thumbnail, eyes wide, lips twisted. My own name surfaced too, though. I had said nothing. Strangers argued in comments. Was I cruel? Was he greedy? But the video spoke for itself. Ryan tried damage control. He posted a photo with a forced smile captioned, "Don't believe everything you see." Within minutes, replies buried him. "We heard it. We saw it. You can't spin this." One comment had over 10,000 likes. If humiliation were a sport, he'd take the gold. That afternoon, a reporter emailed me. Subject care to comment on the viral clip I didn't answer. Silence is sharper than any statement, but I printed the email and slipped it into the Quiet Fire folder. Evidence grows best in layers. Then came his message to me, direct and desperate. "If you don't delete that video, I'll sue you for emotional abuse." I read it once, twice, 3 times. Then I pressed save, not delete. Lawsuits require clean hands. His were already stained. In the city gym where he once trained clients, people whispered. By evening, his name trended alongside words like freeloader and gold digger fiancé. Companies distance themselves quickly when scandal costs more than loyalty. By week's end, his schedule had emptied. I watched it unfold the way you watch rain slide down a window. Inevitable, quiet, relentless. At night, I opened my folder and added another page. Threat of lawsuit, direct message. But there was more than gossip. A friend forwarded me another gem, a screenshot from his private group chat where he bragged about cashing out from Claire's $1 million estate. He had inflated the number, but greed makes people careless with math. The post had leaked, passed from friend to friend until it found me. I held the paper in my hands, the ink still warm from the printer. Proof upon proof, his own words stacking into a case he could never escape. And yet part of me felt the weight. To have someone you once trusted unravel so publicly is not triumph. It is grief dressed as spectacle. Still, grief can be repurposed. Humiliation recycled. Revenge polished until it shines. I'll tell you about the lawyer next, and the quiet smile that said he trapped himself. But first, tell me where you're watching from, and subscribe. These stories always have another turn. I walked into my lawyer's office on a gray Friday morning, the kind where the city smells of wet concrete and yesterday's rain. His waiting room was lined with files, each folder thick with other people's betrayals. I carried my own folder, quiet fire, tucked beneath my arm. When he saw me, he adjusted his glasses and nodded at the folder. You brought me something. I placed it on the desk. One by one, I slid out the pages. The printed email where Ryan bragged about cashing out my savings, the screenshots of his direct threats, and footnote note, the viral clip of him screaming for half my money, the group chat post where he invented $1 million estate for himself to plunder. My lawyer leafed through them silently. Every page turned like a clock ticking louder. Finally he smiled, not a kind smile, but the thin smile of a man who sees the shape of victory. He trapped himself with his own words, he said. You don't need to explain a thing. He's done that for you. We went through the contracts, the car lease now stripped of my name, the insurance application never completed, the joint accounts never opened. Each absence was its own defense. I had guarded myself better than I realized. Still, my lawyer insisted we prepare a statement in case Ryan pushed further. We drafted it together, precise as a surgeon's cut. No insults, no excess, just the facts. Then we filed a notice of protection, a legal shield, should he return to my door. On my way out, he stopped me. You've handled this better than most. Money confuses people. You stayed clear. I thought of Ryan shouting in the hallway, veins swollen words tumbling like dice in a crooked game. Clear was not what he had been. That evening, I sat at my table with a cappuccino pen in hand. I signed another paper, a revocation of every right Ryan might have pretended to. My signature was steady. The ink darkened as it dried a final seal. Outside the city, lights glowed like witnesses. Inside the folder grew heavier with evidence. I locked it in the safe, the key cool against my palm. But families never end with one clean break. They push, they probe, they test the edges. I knew Ryan wasn't finished. He had too much pride, too little sense. I'll tell you about the scene at my office next. The shouting, the spectacle, the way he turned even coworkers into witnesses. For now, tell me where you are watching from, and subscribe. Money and family always circle back. It was late afternoon when the storm came, not of rain but of noise. My office tower stood tall glass catching the weak sun lobby polished to a shine. I had just returned from a meeting portfolio tucked under my arm when I heard his voice. Ryan's shout carried through the atrium, ragged and raw. She stole my future. She stole my child's future. His words echoed off marble walls. People froze mid-step, phones raised in reflex. I stopped at the edge of the lobby, the folder in my hand suddenly heavier. He stood there, hair unkempt, suit wrinkled, clutching nothing but rage. His eyes darted until they found me. There she is, he screamed, pointing. The woman who took everything, half of her savings, half, is mine by right. Security moved quickly, 2 guards approaching their radios, buzzing, but Ryan wasn't finished. He climbed onto a low bench, shouting over them, voice cracking. She promised me a life. She locked me out, erased me, and now she hides behind lawyers. The crowd swelled. Co-workers, strangers, even delivery men paused to watch. Some whispered, some recorded, some simply stared. Humiliation has its own gravity. People can't help but orbit it. I stood still. My silence was deliberate. The more I withheld, the more he gave away. A woman from accounting whispered near me, "Is that your fiancé?" Her tone carried both pity and judgment. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled my phone from my bag and tapped record again. Evidence builds not in grand gestures, but in steady accumulation. The guards finally reached him, firm hands on his arms. He fought, cursed, demanded, "You think you can erase me? You think this city will side with you? Wait until the truth comes out." His voice cracked on the last word. They led him outside. The glass doors swallowed his shouting, leaving only silence, and the sound of dozens of notifications pinging in my pocket. I knew the videos were already spreading hashtags, multiplying like weeds. That evening, a clip surfaced online. Ex-fiancé causes scene at Midtown office. The comments were merciless. He's auditioning for reality television. She should bill him for emotional labor. And the one that stuck. If you scream about money in public, it's already not yours. I added the new video to my folder. Quiet fire grew thicker, its edges sharp. But this wasn't the end. I knew he would push further, try to twist the story into a courtroom spectacle. He thought noise could substitute for evidence. What he didn't know was that the very noise he made would undo him. I'll tell you about the hearing next, the way the judge listened, the way his own words cut deeper than anything I could say. Tell me where you're watching from, and subscribe. Family and money always demand witnesses. Courtrooms are never as grand as television makes them seem. The wood is scuffed, the microphones crackle, and the air smells faintly of dust and old paper. Still, there is a gravity in that space, a weight heavier than marble. That morning, I carried my folder, Quiet Fire, under my arm as if it were armor. Ryan sat at the opposite table, his suit pressed, but his eyes restless. He tapped his knee, whispered to a lawyer who looked younger than some interns I've trained. When the judge entered, we rose. The shuffle of bodies sounded like leaves in wind. He spoke first. His lawyer painted a picture of a devoted fiancé cast aside of promises, broken of financial rights ignored. Words like partnership and shared estate floated in the air, untethered by fact. I sat still, my hands folded, letting the story unravel. Then it was my turn. My lawyer opened the folder and laid each piece on the table like cards in a game he already knew how to win. The email where Ryan bragged about cashing out my savings. The group chat post claiming $1 million estate. The direct message threatening to sue if I didn't delete evidence. And finally the viral videos, his midnight meltdown, his public outburst in the office lobby. Each time the screen lit up with footage, Ryan shifted. First defiant, then defensive, then small. The courtroom murmured when his own voice echoed through the speakers. "Half of your savings is mine." No script could soften that line. The judge leaned forward. "Do you dispute that this is your voice, Mr. Ryan?" Ryan stammered. "I was under stress. She manipulated." The judge raised a hand. "Answer the question." Silence stretched. Finally, he muttered number. That single syllable collapsed his case. My lawyer spoke little after that. He didn't need to. The evidence carried itself, my silence filling the gaps louder than his words ever could. When the ruling came, it was simple. Mr. Ryan has no legal rights, no financial claim, and no standing to harass this petitioner further. Any attempt to do so will be met with sanctions. The gavel struck once sharp as a lock clicking shut. Ryan's shoulders sank. His lawyer gathered papers in a rush, eyes downcast. I rose slowly, folder in hand, and walked out of the courtroom. The sun outside was bright, the city noisy, but for me the world felt strangely quiet. Betrayal had spoken for itself, and justice had listened. Yet closure is not a single moment. It is a series of small breaths, each one steadier than the last. I still had one more step to take, one more truth to watch unfold. I'll tell you about the ending, the cappuccino, the news broadcast, the smile that wasn't for him but for myself. Stay with me. Tell me where you're watching from, and subscribe. Money and betrayal always leave a mark. The morning after the hearing, I woke to a quieter city. Not because the traffic slowed or the horns softened, but because inside me, the noise had stopped. I brewed cappuccino in my small silver machine, the hiss of steam rising, like a signal of peace. I carried the cup to the window where Central Park stretched in early light green against steel. On the television muted at first, a news anchor's lips moved over Ryan's face. I turned up the volume. Former trainer loses contracts after viral meltdowns. The footage played again, his knees on the hallway floor, his voice breaking in the lobby. Commentators shook their heads. Sponsors distanced themselves. His name was no longer tied to fitness. It was tied to failure. I sipped my coffee. The bitterness was steady, the foam sweet. I thought of the ring box, returned the car, lease severed the accounts, scrubbed clean. Betrayal had tried to burrow into my life, but all it left was evidence carefully filed and now closed. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues. Saw the clip. Good for you. Proud you stood tall. Even neighbors nodded in the lobby, small acknowledgments from people who had seen me silent while he raged. Silence, I had learned, can be louder than any outburst. I sat at the table, opened my notebook, and wrote one line in black ink. Protect your assets. Protect yourself. Not as a warning, but as a reminder. Revenge doesn't always mean fire. Sometimes it is simply keeping what is yours. The camera on my laptop blinked as I recorded a short message. I didn't speak to Ryan, not directly. I spoke to whoever needed to hear it. Sometimes I said, holding the cappuccino close, the best revenge is just protecting your own assets. I paused, then leaned closer, letting the silence breathe. If you think I made the right choice, comment right. If you know a better revenge, share it below. I pressed stop. The screen froze on my face, calm resolved. Outside, the city roared as always, but this time I was no longer its echo. I was its witness.